Yamuna Tira Manachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Bala Girivardhari Yashodanandana Vajrajana Randana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Prabhujakacharya Asatara Sakha Sri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Nanta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Rantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Gaur Premananda All glories to the assembled devotees All glories to the assembled devotees All glories to the assembled devotees All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga Glories to Srila Prabhupada Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
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 Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 22, Prithu Maharaja's meeting with the Kumaras. Text 23. Artendriya Rama Sagostya Trishnaya Tam Samatanam Aparigrahena Cha Vivikta Rucha Paritosha Atmani Dina Hare Guna Piyusha Pana Artendriya Rama Sagostya Trishnaya Tat Samatanam Aparigrahena Cha Vivikta Rucha Paritosha Atmani Vina Hare Guna Piyusha Pana Artendriya Rama Sagostya Trishnaya Tat Samatanam Aparigrahena Cha Vivikta Rucha Paritosha Atmani Vina Hare Guna Piyushapana
Vina Hare Guna Piyushapana
Artendriya Rama Sagosha Trishnaya Tatsamatana Parigrahena Cha Viviktarucha Paritosha Atmani Vina Hare Guna Piyushapana
Indriyarama Sagoshti Trishnaya Sammatanam Aparigrahena Vivektarucha Paritosha Atmani Hare Guna Piyushapana Atindriyarama Sagoshti Trishnaya Sammatanam Aparigrahena Cha Viktarucha Paritosha Atmani Hare Guna Piyushapana
Artha, riches. Indriya, senses. Arama, gratification. Sagoshti, with their companion. Atrishnaya, by reluctance. Tat, that. Samatana, since approved by them. Aparigrahena, by non-acceptance. Cha, also. Viviktarucha, disgusted taste. Paritoshe, happiness. Atmani, self. Vina, without. Hare, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Guna, qualities. Piyusha, nectar. Pana, drinking. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. One has to make progress in spiritual life by not associating with persons who are simply interested in sense gratification and making money. Not only such persons, but one who associates with such persons should be avoided. One should mold his life in such a way that he cannot live in peace without drinking the nectar of the glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari. One can be thus elevated by being disgusted with the taste for sense enjoyment. Purport. In the material world, everyone is interested in money and sense gratification. The only objective is to earn as much money as possible and utilize it for satisfaction of the senses. Srila Shukadev Goswami thus described the activities of the materialistic persons. Nijaya hriyate naktam, yavayena chavavayaha, divacharke hayaha rajan, kutumba bharanena cha. Srimad Bhagavatam 2:1-3. This is a typical example of materialistic persons. At night, they waste their time by sleeping more than 6 hours or by wasting time in sex indulgence. This is their occupation at night. And in the morning, they go to their office or business place just to earn money. As soon as there is some money, they become busy in purchasing things for their children and others. Such persons are never interested in understanding the values of life. What is God? What is the individual soul? What is its relationship with God, etc.? Things are degraded to such an extent that those who are supposed to be religious are also at the present moment interested only in sense gratification. The number of materialistic persons in this age of Kali has increased more than in any other age. Therefore, persons who are interested in going back home, back to Godhead, should not only engage in the service of realized souls, but should give up the company of materialistic persons whose only aim is to earn money and employ it in sense gratification. They also should not accept the objectives. They should also not accept the objectives of materialistic persons, namely money and sense gratification. Therefore, it is stated, Bhakti Pradeshana Bhava Viraktir Anyatra Cha, Srimad Bhagavatam 11:2-42. To advance in devotional service, one should be uninterested in the materialistic way of life. That which is the subject matter of satisfaction for the devotees is of no interest to the non-devotees. Simply negation or giving up the company of materialistic persons will not do. We must have engagements. Sometimes it is found that a person interested in spiritual advancement gives up the company of material society and goes to a secluded place as recommended for the yogis especially, but that will also not help a person in spiritual advancement, for in many instances such yogis also fall down. As far as jnanis are concerned, generally they fall down without taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. The impersonalist or voidist can simply avoid the positive material association. They cannot remain fixed in transcendence without being engaged in devotional service. The beginning of devotional service is to hear about the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is recommended in this verse. Vina harer guna piyusha pana. One must drink the nectar of the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this means that one must be always engaged in hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. It is the prime method for advancing in spiritual life. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also recommends this in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. If one wants to make advancement in spiritual life, by great fortune he may meet a bona fide spiritual master, and from him learn about Krishna. By serving both the spiritual master and Krishna, he gets the seed of devotional service, Bhakti Lata Bij. And if he sows the seed within his heart and waters it by hearing and chanting, it grows into a luxuriant Bhakti Lata, or Bhakti creeper. The creeper is so strong that it penetrates the covering of the universe and reaches the spiritual world and continues to grow on and on until it reaches and takes shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna, just as an ordinary creeper also grows on and on until it takes a solid shelter on a roof. Then it very steadily grows and produces the required fruit. The real cause of the growing of such fruit, which is here called the nectar of hearing the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is to water the creeper of devotional service by hearing and chanting. The purport is that one cannot live outside the society of devotees. One must live in the association of devotees, where there is constant chanting and hearing of the glories of the Lord. The Krishna consciousness movement is started for this purpose, so that hundreds of ISKCON centers may give people a chance to hear and chant, to accept the spiritual master, and to disassociate themselves from persons who are materially interested. For in this way, one can make solid advancement in going back home, back to Godhead. Om Jnana Timrandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshuramotamena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakti Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. So Srila Prabhupada is stressing the association of devotees. Tandira Charana Seve Bhakti Sanivas. The devotees serve the acharyas, the spiritual masters, by the devotees serve the acharyas, the spiritual masters, in the association of devotees. Even in the spiritual world, when we've achieved our swarupas, our eternal spiritual forms, serve Krishna, will be in the association of other devotees. It won't just be Krishna and us. And one will be part of a herd or group of cows, or be part of a group of cowherd boys, or part of a group of cowherd girls. One won't be alone with Krishna. One will be in association of devotees, to be in the spiritual and learn how to live and serve with other devotees as part of that. Of course, Jiva Swarupahoy Krishna Yadas. In essence, on the most fundamental level, every living entity, every soul is an eternal servant of Krishna. Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, Mamaivam so jiva loke, jiva bhuta sanatana, that every living entity, every soul is part and parcel of him. In other words, in some sense, we're part of God, non-different from God, but at the same time, we're different. Although we're the same in quality, the quantity is different. Like Krishna is Satchidananda Vigraha. It means he's the form of eternality, knowledge, and bliss. We also have a form of eternity, knowledge, and bliss, but it's small, it's tiny. It's like a spark coming from the fire of Krishna. Krishna's like the fire, we're like the spark. If the spark stays close to the fire, it retains its fiery quality. But if it drifts away, then if it drifts away, then it may lose its fiery quality. It's covered over. So, this spiritual quality is reawakened in the association of devotees. I used to stay in the San Diego temple, Pacific Beach in San Diego. And next to the temple, there was a dive shop where you can buy scuba equipment. And they also offered training, because you have to understand how the equipment operates and how to use it properly. So if people are going to use that diving equipment, they have to take a course, and not only take a course, but they have to practice in the swimming pool. In the back of the dive shop, they had a swimming pool, so they have to practice there, and then they can go to the ocean. So I was thinking our temple in San Diego was like a little dive shop, for people who want to dive into the ocean of devotion. So before you can go swimming in the ocean of devotion, you have to take some courses. Hear the philosophy, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. And you also have to practice. So we're practicing, learning how to cooperate with each other and serving Krishna. And not always easy, but it's in the association of devotees that we can pass through the clearing stage of the chanting of the glories, name, fame, pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are different stages, three principal stages in the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. One is the offensive stage, where we're creating offenses. It's stated in the purport, Brahmanda Brahmate Kavan Bhagavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasadi Paya Bhakti Lata Beach. So all of us have been wandering through this material world, taking one bodily form after another in our attempt to enjoy ourselves independent of Krishna, in forgetfulness of Krishna. So when, by the mercy of the spiritual master and Krishna, we get an opportunity to take up the practice of bhakti yoga by receiving that bhakti lata beach, that seed of the creeper of devotion. We plant it, it's planted in our hearts, and it will grow if we water it with the constant hearing and chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. If we constantly engage in hearing and chanting and remembering these names, then gradually we can become free of offenses. When you're planting a creeper and it's growing, you have to water it. Yes, we have to do that, but we also have to put a little fence around it to make sure that different living entities, slugs and different things, don't disturb the creeper. So that's the association of devotees helps us. Kind of like on the highway, if you're driving, on a highway, many times they have on the side of the lane some bumps, so that if you're kind of drifting off course, when the wheels hit the bumps, it kind of wakes you up. So sometimes in our association with devotees, it's like that. We're kind of cruising along, thinking we're doing fine, but then, we hit the bumps. Hey, Prabhu, cool it down. You're getting a little off the track. So the association of devotees can be very helpful in that way. I know I've been helped in my practice of devotional service by being in the association that Srila Prabhupada created for just that purpose. A great acharya like Srila Prabhupada creates an association where like-minded people can be together. And in this age of Kali, especially, an association of devotees is very helpful for advancement in Krishna consciousness. Because as Srila Prabhupada was mentioning in the purport, in this age of Kali, people aren't very interested in these questions like, who is God? What is the soul? What is the relationship between the soul and God? They have other interests that they're pursuing. And in my personal reading of Srimad Bhagavatam, I read from Srila Prabhupada's books every day. I spend some time reading Srila Prabhupada's books. So I'm in the Srimad Bhagavatam now. I'm in the part where King Yudhisthira is noticing that the citizens are becoming affected by sinful activities, anger, greed, lust, things like that. He could detect something is changing. This was the beginning of Kali Yuga. So he could detect signs of Kali Yuga infiltrating the citizens of his kingdom. And then also, Arjuna returned to, it was Hastinapur from Dwarka, where he'd been for some time. And Yudhisthira noticed that he looked a little depressed. Arjuna looked a little depressed, a little bit troubled. So he began asking him, "Oh, were you not able to carry out your duties properly as a Kshatriya? Did someone ask you for some charity and you weren't able to give it?" He kind of in the back of his mind, Yudhisthira was concerned that Lord Krishna had left this planet, had gone, had departed. And in the end, after so many questions and answers, Arjuna admitted, yes, Krishna has departed this planet. And now, although by his grace and energy, I had accomplished so many things, fought in so many battles and prevailed against very powerful warriors. But now it's like all my powers have deserted me. So in that kind of situation where the population in general is engaged in activities that are not really consistent with advancing in spiritual life, the association of devotees is required. So, we have this International Society for Krishna Consciousness and so many centers. It's kind of interesting. Srila Prabhupada mentions in this purport that there are hundreds of ISKCON centers where people can take advantage of this association. Now, this is in the fourth canto, and the fourth canto, I think, wasn't published until maybe 1975 or something. I mean, now we have the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, all 12 cantos translated into dozens of languages. In the 1970s, they were coming out one after another. I think when I joined in 1974, maybe the second canto was there. And it was always a big event in a temple when a new volume of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Volume 1, Canto 3, Volume 2, they would come out. I would drop everything and just take the book and just read through it. But the point being that in the 1970s, when this book came out, there weren't hundreds of temples at that time. Maybe about 100 all over the world. But Srila Prabhupada could see the future, and now we do have hundreds of temples all over the world, including this one. So that's so we're very fortunate to have been given the Bhakti Lata Beach, and we should cultivate it and take full advantage of the association of devotees to make progress in going back home, back to Godhead. So, what time is it now?
9:42.
Hmm?
9:42.
8:42. Okay. So, any questions, comments? Yes?
The purport compromise that purport is one cannot live outside the society of devotees. One must live in the association of devotees where there is constant chanting and hearing of the glories of the Lord. Now, in Prabhupada's own life, we know from reading the Lilamrita that in 1935, when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was touring his temples, he came to Bombay, which the president was Bhakti Saranga Maharaj, and Prabhupada had helped Saranga and Sridhar Maharaj start that center. And Saranga Maharaj said to Bhaktisiddhanta, who was very pleased with everything he saw, there were a lot of books and devotees, and it was clean and well organized. And so Saranga Maharaj said, well, actually, it was Abhay Babu, Abhay Charanavinda, he was initiated by then, who did this. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have had this temple. So he should be the president. So Bhaktisiddhanta famously replied, it is better that he's not living with you. It is better that he's living outside your company. So sometimes people take this, in ISKCON, take this pastime, and they say, yeah, similarly, we don't agree with what's going on in ISKCON. We should take a distance also. We have every right to, based on Prabhupada's example. So what do you have to say about that?
Well, one has to, there is a principle at stake there. I mean, I see there are two things. There's Sampradaya and Sangha. Sampradaya, by that I mean the line of disciplic succession. One takes initiation from a bona fide spiritual master, Evam Parampara Praptam. And actually that process goes on under the guidance of Krishna. Krishna is the spiritual master of everyone, as Chaitya Guru within the heart. And Krishna within the heart manifests externally as the different types of gurus, Darshika Guru, the Guru who initially leads us to the path of devotional service, the instructing gurus, Shiksha Gurus who give needed instruction, and the Diksha Guru. So Srila Prabhupada often speaks about this and writes about this concept of Chaitya Guru. So that's one thing. We have a relationship with Krishna through by a medium of his external representative, the spiritual masters. And the spiritual master, the Acharya, creates some sangha, some association of disciples. And Bhaktisiddhanta did that, Bhaktivinoda Thakur did it, Srila Prabhupada did it. Of course, he started as a disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and he participated in the activities of the Sangha that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur took. And he founded an association, and Srila Prabhupada had a place within that association. And he tried to carry out his preaching activities through that association. Even when he came to the West, he was still trying to involve that association created by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in his activities in the West. Even Srila Prabhupada once told his disciples, I would have done all of this through the Gaudiya Math, through Chaitanya Math, if they had cooperated with me, but they wouldn't. So he set up his own association. So, in a sense, if somebody feels, like Srila Prabhupada once said, if you, and I think it's written in his purports, said if someone feels that all the members of the society, in other words, the Sangha that one belongs to, are pseudo-devotees, said, well, then you just come and stay with me. In other words, there are going to be cases, and the history of devotional service shows that there can be times when a Sangha, association of devotees, becomes deviated somehow or other. That unfortunately does happen. So, so just in principle, the kind of thing that some devotees are saying that can happen. It can also happen that someone will think that all of the devotees that are associated with are pseudo-devotees. Then they can take shelter of their guru. And there are also cases where someone is part of a bona fide association of devotees and creates offenses and loses one's Krishna consciousness. So, in principle, if we look at the history of devotional service at Srila Prabhupada's own life, it can happen that a society of devotees or Sangha that has been created departs from its principles. And then one has to decide what to do. Like in Srila Prabhupada's case, he tried and tried again and again and again to work through the society that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur created. But eventually he created his own Sangha, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And my opinion is functioning according to the desire that Srila Prabhupada had for it. So I'm happy to be part of it. But in principle, it could deviate from the path that it was set up for. So anyways, they're kind of sensitive issues, but since you're a very senior devotee and you've asked me a question, I feel I have to give you my honest answer. I would say Srila Prabhupada was directly instructed by his spiritual master of what to do. He had very confidential discussions with him. And yes, there were problems. Like Bhaktisiddhanta told him, all the devotees, they're fighting over the temple, the big marble temple that they've been given in Calcutta. He said, he advised Srila Prabhupada, if you get any money, print books. Don't get involved in temples. Just print books, distribute books. So, so these issues can come up, and devotees have to make up their minds about these things. And
Thank you. Yeah, it's a thanks for that very balanced answer. And I also tell the devotees that in case they don't know, that Drutakarma Prabhu, he, as he said, he is happy to participate in ISKCON because he feels it is following Srila Prabhupada's instructions. There are so many symptoms of that. At the same time, he sits on a group, which I might rejoin someday, which is ensuring that we do have problems. And the group is working on this, is sensitive to those problems, and is suggesting to our leaders how to, remedy those problems. So that's good. It's not just blind following, but it's eyes wide open following. So thank you.
Yeah, well, I think if one feels like dissatisfied with the sangha that one is part of, then you have some choices.
Mm-hmm.
You can just leave it, or you can try to reform it, or you can examine yourself and say, maybe the problem's with me, not with the sangha. That's
right.
It's my lack of surrender, my lack of Krishna consciousness that has put me in a situation like that. But it could be, it definitely does happen. It could be that the real choice one should have is to either follow Srila Prabhupada's advice. If you think everyone's a pseudo-devotee, then you come and stay with me, or one can go and form one's own association. But personally, I don't think that's necessary. But I understand at the same time that I've had a certain experience in Krishna consciousness over 50 years or so. It's not that I've never had any problem with anyone, but somehow I've been able to work it out within the association of devotees that Srila Prabhupada created. somehow been able to work out whatever difficulties have come up within that society. But I understand that some people have had experiences that are maybe of a different character, and that that have given them a different feeling. So that can happen. Anything else?
I've got the microphone. Well, not exactly a question, but thank you so much for coming. The devotees were in a little anxiety that you weren't staying here, so this is giving us some relief that you came and gave a class. And in the few minutes we have left, perhaps you could just give us like your highlight of the conference, what you felt was really special.
Well, I've been coming to that conference on and off almost since it started, 1998. I came and I presented a paper called The City of Nine Gates, where I presented the allegory from the Srimad Bhagavatam, fourth canto, City of Nine Gates, as an allegory that gave insights that might be useful to researchers and consciousness studies, because most of the modern researchers in consciousness studies don't like very much what they call dualism. The idea that there's a soul that's, a conscious self that's different than the material body. Most of them believe that, they're materialist monists, which they believe that matter is primary, and that somehow or other, the neurons in the brain produce consciousness, what we call consciousness. So, in that analogy or that allegory from the Srimad Bhagavatam, it offers, as I said, some insights that could help researchers understand dualism in a proper way. So, but, I presented that paper in what's called a poster session. And that means at a big conference like that, you have a hierarchy of levels of presentation. The highest level is to be like a keynote speaker in what's called a plenary, a session where everybody, all the researchers there are all together in one auditorium. It's the only thing that's going on. So that's kind of like one level, to speak by oneself at the full session where everybody's present. The next level down from that is to be part of a panel in a plenary where everybody is present. Next down from that is to be part of a panel that's in a concurrent session. That means you've got lots of lectures happening at the same time, and people pick which one to go to. And the level down from that is a poster, which is where I was at. Because although I've found a way to at least get that far, I don't have myself any personal credentials. Like I'm not a Harvard PhD in cognitive science, you know. So that kind of thing went on for a long time. But in recent years, we've had many devotee scientists come to this movement with proper credentials, in cognitive science and physics and psychology and other disciplines. And they are very dedicated to carrying out Prabhupada's mission. I mean, in the 1970s, 80s, all the way up to the 1990s, there were very few devotees engaged in serious scientific preaching of the kind that Srila Prabhupada wanted when he set up the Bhaktivedanta Institute. And Sadhuputta Prabhu was one, Bhakti Swarup Damodar another, but there weren't very many. Myself and but now things are a little bit different. We have now many devotees who are qualified to do this work, and they had at this conference, there was a group of them that came. Akandadi Guru came, several others, Murali Gopal, others, and they had a whole workshop session, 4 hours. So they've kind of taken it to another level. Now, I have to say, some of these devotees, they say, they've told me, well, I was kind of inspired by your paper, that you presented so many years ago, City of Nine Gates. And plus, you came once to my college and you gave a lecture, and it kind of inspired them to take this up. So I was very happy to see it. That's one reason I came, because I think it was a historic event that our Bhaktivedanta Institute devotee researchers and scientists were making a very serious presentation on that level. And I think they'll rise from that level, to be able to make even more impactful presentations. So I think it was a historic event, because this group of devotees, they're doing their own research. They're fully dedicated to Srila Prabhupada's mission, but they have positions in universities, they have positions in scientific institutions, but they're doing their own research. For myself, I've written books, Human Devolution, Forbidden Archaeology, and so basically in Bhaktivedanta Institute for many decades, we've been doing work that's based on the research done by others. But now there's a team of devotee scientists in India that are doing their own research and past life memories locating people like children who have very clear memories of the past lives. They're interviewing them, they're documenting the cases, and things like that. So that's a very significant historical event. And I wanted to be present at it and to see our devotee scientists who are actually conducting their own research, being able to present the Vedic perspective on consciousness in at an event like this, which is one of the biggest scientific conferences on consciousness studies, which is a very good place for our scholars and scientists to have an entry point into that world. So, very, like I said, to me, it was like history being made. So I'd like to thank you and all the devotees here for hosting the team. Hare